What can the Casey Anthony trial teach us about evidence? I'm Gary DeMar, and welcome to this edition of Vantage Point. The verdict in the Casey Anthony trial surprised an awful lot of people. Even Kim Kardashian tweeted that she was upset with the verdict, even though it was her father who was on the defense team on the O.J. Simpson trial. And as you know, there was a preponderance of evidence pointing directly to O.J. Simpson that he had done it, but the jury decided otherwise. In a bit of poetic justice, O.J. Simpson is now in jail on an unrelated charge. The issue of evidence always comes up in a trial. You have 12 jurors who are looking at evidence, and they're trying to come to some conclusion as to whether or not the person on trial is innocent or guilty. In this particular case, Casey Anthony was on trial for murder, and if convicted of first-degree murder, she would have gotten the death penalty. So the stakes are extremely high for a juror to say, yes, this person actually did it, and therefore my decision is going to send her to the electric chair or probably in the state of Florida, lethal injection. And so jurors are really reluctant to look at evidence in a way that positions it in such a way that there is a series of doubt involved. The Bible in itself makes the case that the burden of proof is on the prosecution to make the case that a person is guilty. That's why that the Bible actually has 2 witnesses required for a prosecution. One witness is not enough. Now, circumstantial evidence can probably be used, but an eyewitness is necessary. Nobody saw anything. If anybody did see anything, they didn't say anything about it. And since we don't allow torture to get people to confess, we are not privileged to that type of evidence. So this particular trial really hinged on everything being circumstantial evidence. Did it line up? Did it support what the people had to, what the prosecution was saying? For these 12 jurors, apparently not. Now, these jurors have been castigated because the general public says, look, there is no doubt that Casey Anthony was guilty. Well, the jurors saw it differently. I like the idea, the biblical idea, that it takes 2 witnesses, because once you give the state the benefit of the doubt in convictions, not just in a murder trial, but in anything, we are at jeopardy. The state must prove its case. Now, on to another issue related to this. Evidence in and of itself does not speak. William Watkins, in an article called Whose Facts Anyway, he writes this: facts do not come with interpretation tags telling us how to view them. Both sides haggle over the facts. Both sides search for new facts to add to their arsenals. Both sides raise accusations. Yet it's a rare day indeed when both sides acknowledge that their differences stem from something more than basic facts. Their differences are rooted in opposing worldviews, which in turn are permeated with philosophical assumptions and commitments. You see, facts don't speak for themselves. Everybody goes and evaluates the facts based upon assumptions that they bring to the discussion of the facts. Each one of those jurors came with a particular worldview, and for whatever reason said, I can't, on the basis of these facts, make a determination of her guilt. And we don't know what those operating assumptions were. Maybe it was because she was young and she was pretty and she was a woman. Say no woman could do this, or I couldn't send this person to death because of this act, even if she did it. And I would assume that most of these objections, these presuppositional objections, are unstated. People would never say what they actually believed about those things. So keep in mind that facts in and of themselves do not speak for themselves. Number 2, everybody brings to the table an operating set of presuppositions when they are evaluating the facts. And in order to get into a debate with somebody outside of this particular type of case, you always have to get to the presuppositions that a person is using in order to that person is using to evaluate the facts. Number 3, keep in mind that what you find is that people massage the facts to their own credibility. They are trying to put a credible face on the facts as they see them. Charles Babbage, when he talked about scientists, and we always think of scientists as being very objective, they're not. He says in science you find people who cook, who trim, and forge the evidence in order to make that evidence suit their particular worldview. We're seeing this today in the global warming fight. Now, there are two sides of this particular debate, probably more sides than this. Everybody's looking at the same information, but there are interests involved in believing in man-made global warming. Much of this interest is related to money. Universities and scientists get grants from governments. They need a crisis, they need something to fix in order for them to get the money. So Babbage, writing not of course about global warming, but science in general, said, look, there will people who will trim the evidence, trim the facts. They will then cook the evidence in order to make it fit their operating assumptions, and some will go as far as to forge the data in order to fit, which we saw in an exchange of emails about global warming. The fourth point is we never know how the evidence is going to be read by other people. We may see something as evidence for a particular outcome, but other people may not see it that way. There's a story of Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin didn't like the capitalist system here in the United States, and what he wanted to do was to use some propaganda from the United States in order to get his people in the Soviet Union to see how capitalism is a bad system. And so he one day wanted to rent the film, Grapes of Wrath, from a John Steinbeck novel. It's about the Dust Bowl and how all these poor people, these Okies are coming across and are trying to get to California, and the desperation in them and trying to do all this. And Stalin thought, well, once our people see this, they'll see how bad America is and how bad capitalism is. But it backfired on him. Because what he didn't take into account is, again, the presuppositions, the operating assumptions of his audience. When his audience saw this, when the poor people of the former Soviet Union saw this, they were in wonderment over the fact that poor people had automobiles. This was something that Joseph Stalin did not anticipate. And so when you think that you have all of your ducks in a row, when you have all of your evidence and all of your facts, keep in mind that there will be people out there who will dismiss the facts because they have a worldview to protect. They have operating presuppositions. They will do everything within their power in order to defend those presuppositions, because if their presuppositions go, then their entire worldview goes with it. And as a result of that, they have to change their minds and change their behavior. And that is the problem in America for just allowing evidences to speak for themselves.